What's up, guys? Welcome back to Storytime with Uncle Jon, where we pluck stories from Reddit and around the web that entertain me, you, the cats, and maybe 3 or 4 other people. Going to apologize ahead of time for my appearance. I know most of you either don't care or don't notice. Wow, pterodactyl flies. Anyway, and just been working on projects around the house today. Got a new receptacle run outside for our camper, and got that all installed, sealed up. Didn't electrocute myself. Life is good. Didn't burn out any breakers. So, yeah. To celebrate, I'm going to sit here in my sweat-stained clothes and hat and tell you some malicious compliance stories. All right, let's get to it. Stay until it's done? Okay, I'm doing it by the book then and getting an extra day off. Didn't set the hotkeys. Dumbass. That's better. I used to work as a supervisor in my last job and was directly working with a union. Some of my managers really didn't want to deal with things when it came to workplace injuries, so I had to deal with most of them. If you've worked with a union before, this is a very long and time-consuming process, while important, very tedious. So that brings us to that one evening. I was on my second double in a row of 3 and very much ready to go home. As I wrapped up my area, my evening manager texted me to assist another supervisor with an injury. The supervisor was newer and needed to be taught. I informed them I was already there on a double and needed to come back in the morning, and was there anyone else, or could they help them? This manager, who was notorious for passing their work on to others, texted me and said, no, I had to stay until it was done. Okay, I have written documentation of a directive? Who am I to say no? Alright, well then, since I'm teaching, I'm going by the book. I opened up the union and company policy on workplace incidents and followed it step by step. By the time we got to the drug test portion, the local clinic we used was closed and we needed to call it in. This is important because if you don't use the local clinic, the out-of-area one takes 4+ hours to come out. While that was processing, I did a lengthy investigation with the union. I spent the entire night going by the book, taking pictures and documenting everything I could. By the time I finished and the drug test finished, it was 7 a.m. and my shift started in 30 minutes. This is the time the morning manager came in. They're one of my favorites and why I pick up mornings all the time. When she saw me, she said, "Oh, you're in early." I said, "Well, I never left." Her face dropped because they have a rule that while management, including supervisors, can work more than 16 hours, if they work more than 20 hours, they need a 24-hour reset. I wasn't in the union, but still hourly salaried and got OT over 8 hours in a day. So not only was I going to not be able to make my morning shift, I couldn't make my evening shift either. I was still going to be paid for both while being sent home. She asked me who told me to do this, and I showed her the messages from the evening manager telling me to stay until it's finished. I went home and enjoyed my extra day off into the weekend. When I came back, I had an interview about the incident with the senior manager. After showing my messages, which the manager tried to delete, but only did on his side, I was dismissed without any issues. The manager was written up by the senior manager, and they had to pay me my 2 regular shifts plus 24 hours of overtime. Needless to say, I stopped picking up after that, no matter how much they begged. Edit. Massage to message, and this is the throwaway. Edit number 2. I may be good with union rules, but apparently bad at spelling and grammar. Thank you for all the help. It's amazing how did these people get to management positions when they're always passing the buck off to somebody else? Got something that's a pain in the ass, or they just don't want to be, burdened with. They'll pass it off to one of their underlings or somebody off to the side, a lateral shift. Just how do you get a higher position? I guess it's because they know how to work the system. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just not conniving enough. As far as the edit at the end of this post, while most people are well-meaning, and I get it sometimes on my videos, there are some that are really just too asshole-ish for their own good. Yes, spelling, grammar, punctuation, like this post had some really weird punctuations, and it made it really hard for me to read out loud. Partially because of the way I read, partially because of the way it was written. But, come on. It's Reddit. It's not your dissertation. So, it's all good. Focus on the work at hand, right? You got it, boss. Backstory. Another story about Sam and Murad. My manager, Sam, is extremely chill and an outstanding leader. His manager, Murad, is a stickler for the rules. I work as an infrastructure and configuration manager. I also love automation and automate everyday tasks for myself, my team, and sometimes management as well. Most of management loves it. Murad is not a fan though. He wants me to focus on my own work and he loves doing things manually. Well, here's the story. This is from November 2022. My son had been ill for 2 weeks. He's on the mend but requires constant monitoring to take his meds and fluids every hour. You can't expect that discipline from a toddler. I've taken a leave for a week to focus on his recovery. In my absence, Sam has been handling most of my work. I check and reply to mails at the end of the day. I'm not required to do this, and Sam asked me not to, but I do it anyway, just to get ahead of potential issues that the project might face due to my absence. At the end of the week, a management meetup is scheduled. Now, only management, team managers, scrum masters, system architects, is required for the call, but this type of management meetup is a potential goldmine for automation ideas, so I usually join in. In the previous 3 months, by joining this monthly meeting and taking automation ideas that came out of them, I had saved the project and management roughly 100 hours of cumulative work weekly. Wow, that's pretty good. The meeting starts on Friday morning. It's a regional holiday for a lot of people, so most have joined from home. About 20 people have joined. I've joined as well from my home. My son is seated beside me and I'm teaching him how to play chess. The meeting doesn't really take a lot of focus from me, so my son doesn't mind. He's actually fascinated by most of my work, even though he's too young to understand any of it. Most of my teammates and Sam knows my son, having interacted with him during several calls. Suddenly, Murad joins the call. He's usually never in this call, as he rarely gets along with the agenda or the way the call usually goes. The demeanor is usually pretty casual, people calling each other by names instead of official salutations, people talking in native languages sometimes. Murad, being everyone's boss and having a giant pole up his rear, commands a serious tone from every meeting he's in. However, on this very occasion, it seems he wants to join in on the casual camaraderie. He wants everyone to turn on their cameras. Everyone takes a minute, and the screen starts to light up with everyone's video. It seems most have hastily put on a formal shirt. Sam chimes in asking me to keep my camera off because it's not required. Murad cuts in. The conversation goes like this. Sam says, OP, you can keep your camera off, it's not required. Murad, OP's here? Must be to take minutes. He can turn his camera on as well. I say, actually, I'm on leave today. I joined in case my input is needed for any automation. Murad said, that's fine, but please turn on your camera. It would be good for everyone to see everyone else. I turn my camera on. Both my son and I and the chessboard between us is visible. I'm using a wide-angle camera. My T reads, I work for money. For loyalty, hire a dog. I like that. Murad's face was at its widest as it came to rest after 6 seconds with a reduction rate of 1 millimeter per second. The rest of the conversation goes like this. Murad says, OP, that T is not office appropriate. I say, it's quite appropriate for home though, where I currently am. Murad says, you also seem to be playing chess. I would suggest you take your work seriously. Please focus on the matter at hand. I say, you're right, I should focus, and I disconnect. In a call later, Sam said that while he explained to Murad that I was on leave at that moment in front of 20 other people, the sound of my disconnection felt surreal. It's 2024. My automations have saved the project roughly 430 hours and the company roughly 250 hours weekly. Murad never joins that call anymore. Murad's one of those guys we just talked about. You know, he must know how to work the system. He thinks he knows better than everybody else, yet he sounds totally useless, quite honestly. There are some things that, cooking, for example. There are some things that are way better cooked by hand, low and slow, hand chop, hand cooked, sear in a cast iron pan, things like that. Grilling even. There's just some things that a microwave and other fast cooking processes just will never replace. Minute rice is fine in a pinch, but it really kind of sucks compared to traditional rice, either a basmati or a brown or a long grain rice, things like that, that's cooked properly. While there are some things that are great being automated, especially in business, as long as it works well and it saves you money, fine. Doing it by hand just for the sake of doing it by hand, if there's no actual benefit monetarily or otherwise, then shut up. Go sit in your corner and wait till retirement, Must be less than $150, right? Backstory. My new office reimburses mobile bills up to $50 per month. It's actually part of my total compensation. I'm used to submitting the bills at the end of the financial year and usually take an annual plan. So here's the story. I joined a new company in the middle of COVID. My last 4 jobs were pretty similar when it came to the mobile bill reimbursements. Each reimbursement, a mobile bill up to $30 monthly or $90 quarterly or $360 annually. I used to take an annual plan and submit bills at the end of the financial year. My new company provides this reimbursement as part of a total compensation. It provides $50 per month and actually keeps $600 separate for this. At the end of the financial year, whatever amount I have applied for reimbursement is reimbursed, and the rest of the $600 is added to my last month's salary. The reimbursed amount becomes tax-free. Well, that's nice. At the end of 2022, I submit my annual phone bill. It's roughly $360. The accounts department rejects it. Apparently, a single reimbursement request cannot be more than $150. They suggest that I submit this monthly. I wonder, how does a monthly reimbursement go as high as $150? Well, let's ask them. Accounts cannot give that info. I get in touch with finance and HR, and after going through several hoops, I find out that they updated the policy regarding monthly phone bill upper limit is $50, but forgot to update total reimbursement amount and reimbursable categories. Apparently, you can reimburse not just mobile bill, but a lot of other stuff, such as 1. Internet bill up to $50 monthly as long as you can show at least 4 days work from home in a month. 2. Electricity bill up to $50 monthly as long as you can show at least 4 days work from home in a month. Only $50 monthly mobile bill is part of my total compensation. The other reimbursements would be additional pay on top of everything. Now, I mostly work from home. I've been to the office a total of 10 days since I joined this company in March of 2022. Cue malicious compliance. At the end of 2023-2024 financial year, I had reimbursed the following. $600 of the mobile bill. Plan includes Netflix, 4 child numbers, wife, both parents, 1 additional for me. Then $597 of internet bill and $597 of electricity bill. I submitted bills at the end of every month and always kept the total at $149.50. Every other month, accounts would reject it, saying it's gone above $50, and I would reply back with all the unchanged policy documents. In the middle of the year, they decided to update the policy. They only kept the mobile bill policy in the intranet, removed the rest, but I had the documents downloaded, so it was no problem. Whenever someone would say that the policy documents were no longer valid, I would ask for updated documents, and they would fail to provide one. They finally updated all policy documents in June of 2024. I've yet to inform them that I've got a promotion, and the documents that are applicable at my level are still not updated. They'll find that out once I submit this month's bills. My limits have doubled since my previous position. Woof. See, instead of just being reasonable and reimbursing this guy's cell phone bill, they backed him into a corner to the point where he was forced to go looking for loopholes so that he could get paid reimbursements on several things instead of just one. And by all rights, if I'm work from home, you should be paying for part of my internet bill. I'm not saying you should pay the whole thing because for sure I'm going to use more of it on my personal dime than on company time. But still, time and space kind of thing. If I work from home as a self-employed person, I get to take a certain portion of my internet, my electricity, my space even, my square footage in this corner of this room, which ain't much, but it's something, and actually write it off on my taxes. Again, not much, but take what you can get. These people just sound stupid. By the short and curlies. I worked for a company that located individuals that didn't want to be found. As a lead investigator, I found that the systems and databases used in performing this work to be a complete mess. Nothing tied together, and made a 10-minute process take an hour with the back and forth. I created a program that would pull all the information from different databases into one single platform, effectively eliminating 50% of the time required. Everybody loved it, including the VP, my direct supervisor, and the CEO, his supervisor. After using my program for about a year, not only were they dependent on it, but specifically sourced other databases at a super high cost that were able to have their information pulled into the platform I created. When the time came for a promised raise, they said they couldn't do it. Maybe next year. I explained how much I had streamlined the company, saved them time and money, but they insisted a raise couldn't be met. So I walked into my office, removed my program from the server, and quit on the spot. To say things went to shit quickly is an understatement. They called me begging to reinstall my program, then resorted to threatening lawsuits, etc. Eventually they did take me to court, and of course I could prove I wrote the program, and they had no legal right to use it in my absence, so I won. On top of having to pay my attorney fees, they signed a contract with me to allow them to use my program via yearly contract for the exact amount my salary would have been had they given me a raise, all without me having to step back in that building ever again. So if by any chance you're reading this, Bradley, it's 84 degrees on the beach right now, but I have a margarita to keep me cooled off. So yeah, F you, Bradley. Why are people so stupid? Throw the guy a bone. Even if you couldn't give him and I doubt they couldn't, but even if you couldn't give the guy his full percentage raise or whatever, you could have thrown him a bone and he probably would have been happy with, the annual 3% or whatever. Somebody said in the comment down below, and I forgot to snip it when I was looking at it. I think it said never mess with a skip trace, basically bail bonds agents and things like that, fugitive recovery agents, because basically this is what they do for a living. They're smart and they're not afraid to get their hands dirty to get a job done and get it done well. Now, I've never personally been in the hands-on side of that business as far as putting my hands on people or knocking on doors and things like that. My side of the job when I did security work, when I came back to the States, was to basically sit and film people. Now, easy peasy, you'd think to yourself, right? Everybody's got a cell phone. Well, even back then when I did it, we didn't even have, well, we did have, I guess there was a Nokia, but it was kind of basically useless. I mean, you know, it was so expensive to use that it wasn't worth using, and they didn't even have cameras yet. That's the main idea here. So I had a camcorder. Now, this camcorder took full-size VHS tapes, and the camera from tip of lens to the rear where the big battery went on was probably about 18 to 20 inches long. Now imagine setting up a tripod and modifying the tripod so that it would sit over the hump in the front seat of your car, and you had to get it low enough that it was under the rearview mirror, but high enough that the dashboard and the hood or the hood ornament, yes, cars had hood ornaments back then, wouldn't be in the way when you're scanning left to right and zooming in when people were coming out of their tennis clubs, their swim clubs, you know, the gym where they just got done lifting weights, even though, you know, we did a lot of insurance things. So people that were trying to scam insurance for extra time off and maybe one lump sum payment and claim permanent injuries and then go out and do dumb shit, you know, like swing from tree branches and go zip lining and bungee jumping. And I got to catch all that stuff on tape, literally on tape. Stupid fly. The point is, we're good at getting things done, even if we have to invent new ways to do it. You want extra butter? Coming right up. This happened many years ago when I was about 14. I'm the youngest cousin of my extended family, and the youngest child in the immediate family. Family members would often ask me to do things that inconvenienced themselves. Myself and 5 family members went to see a movie together. This movie theater had a popcorn station where you could add your own butter to the popcorn you ordered. Before the movie started, I had to butter the popcorn. Halfway through the previews, I had to run out and butter the popcorn again. About 15 minutes into the movie, I had to do it again. This got quite annoying as I wanted to watch this movie. Obviously. About an hour into the movie, they asked me to butter the popcorn for a third time. At this point, I'm getting annoyed and I say, fine. I go to the popcorn station and put as much butter on this popcorn as humanly possible. Every kernel soaked in liquid butter. This popcorn was given to us in a flimsy bag. By the time I got back to my seat, I could feel the butter seeping out of the bag. I simply handed the popcorn over to enjoy the rest of the movie. As the movie went on, the popcorn bag was set on the ground. You could see a pool of butter form and then eventually a stream of butter. At the end of the movie, everyone had to watch their step, otherwise they would slip in said butter. A small act of malicious compliance, but my 14-year-old self got to enjoy the rest of the movie. I'm not opposed to sending the youngins to do trivial trips for things once in a while. Sending them once to butter the popcorn? Okay, no problem. If I need more after that, I'll go do it. Might even do it for somebody else. It's one of those things where, okay, you may ask them to do certain petty little tasks, but then, you know, spread the love. Maybe ask somebody else. Maybe you go do it yourself the next time. Yeah, just to pick the same one person over and over and over to do it is just totally ridiculous and ignorant and taking advantage. So, yeah, good for you. I could just picture a stream of butter rolling down those sloped floors under the seats. Ugh. You want 5 scoops of ice cream? Okay. Just a wholesome post about my late grandpa. My grandpa had a lot, and I mean a lot of health complications, including being pre-diabetic. By the way, go study up. There really is no such thing as pre-diabetic. You either are or you're not. You may have signs that show you may become diabetic, but pre-diabetic's really not a condition. Anyway. He had an enormous sweet tooth, which my grandma had the absolute patience to deal with. Whenever he was able to visit, I live in a town with high pollution, so they couldn't visit often, we would have to hide our dessert. Enter the afternoon of the story. We were having a dinner with my immediate family, plus grandma and grandpa, and had moved on to dessert. We were probably having some kind of cake, and had the ice cream out. My mom, his daughter, was scooping the ice cream. When it came to his turn, he said, 5 scoops of ice cream, please. My mom had a stroke of genius idea. Opening the drawer, she grabbed one of those tiny scoops he would use for making cookies and scooped out 5 scoops. Here you go. Grandpa yelled Mom's name and said, that's not what I meant. My mom, giggling, what? You have 5 scoops of ice cream there. He grumbled, sucked it up, and went to the table, all playful. It's still my favorite story from him that I remember, and I thought it was perfect for this subreddit. Edited to add, thank you all so much for the stories and likes. I've genuinely enjoyed reading them. Made my day just a little brighter. Heart emoji. In the comments down below, this one says, you got what you asked for, not what you wanted. And then it says it has a link for r/maliciouscompliance. I have to look that one up. Comment for that one says, ooh, didn't know that sub existed. I'll have to check it out. That could be good for this channel. What do you think? r/delicious compliance. It's got to be all about food, right? Then the comment right below that says, my grandfather loved ice cream. Just as the dementia was starting and he was still lucid most of the time, he told me his doctor wanted him to lose some weight and stop eating ice cream. He said, I'm 90. How much longer do you think I'm going to live? Might as well enjoy it. Absolutely right, Grandpa. If I even come close to hitting 85 or 90 years old, I'll be damned if you're going to start putting me on a diet to extend my life another 6 months. Listen, if I live that long, I'll be just fine until they put my ass in the ground or, cremate me or whatever's going to happen. I try to be a little more careful now if I can because, making it past 60 would be a pretty decent goal. But anyway, who knows? Tomorrow's never promised, so I try not to count my chickens too early, but here's hoping. All right, guys. Appreciate y'all showing up for the stories today, and till the next one, we'll see you. Let me know what you think about that delicious compliance idea. Maybe we can add that to one of our next videos. All right. See ya.